This is Pastor Andrew from Grace Point Church. One of the things that I have noticed lately, and I don't think you can help but miss it, is that there is a lot of fear going around. I'm talking fear of death, fear of the unknown, fear of schedule change. That it feels like as a culture we are just wrapped so tight in fear. You turn on the news, that does not help. It talks about some new virus or some new killer bee that's coming our way. Or the other day I saw an article about crocodiles, or maybe it's alligators, that were on drugs in Florida and they become more vicious. I mean, there is so much that it's easy to become afraid of. And the trouble is that when we get locked into fear, that we go into this mode of self-preservation. We go into this mode of just taking care of ourselves and not caring about anybody else. What we find in Scripture is very different. That God is calling us to something different. I want to read a quick verse for you from 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy 1, and verse says, "For God gave us a spirit." Now this is so powerful that it says that God is the one who gives us a spirit. That there's something outside of us that we need and that God has provided for you and for me. Well, what is this spirit? He says, God has given us a spirit, gave us a spirit not of fear. That when we are living in a state of perpetual fear, that spirit is not from God. Now you say, well, Andrew, there's a lot of scary things going on. There's a lot of things to be concerned about. There's a lot of things that are worrisome. And the facts of those pieces may be true. But if we're living and consumed in a state of perpetual fear of what the economy is going to do, fear of what the stock market is going to do, fear of how my family is going to respond, fear of I'm going to get sick, fear of someone I love is going to get sick. If we're living in that state of perpetual fear, we know that is not from God. That's not ordained by God. That's not God's best for you. That's not His gift for you. So the question is, what is best? We're told that God has given us a spirit of power. That in the midst of all this, that because of His grace, that we are more than conquerors. That the time that we live in, and any time that you live in, that God will give you the strength and the power that you need to successfully live a Christian life. That in His power you can accomplish what He's designed for you to accomplish. That you don't need to live in fear, but you can live in the power of God. But we also see that He gives us a spirit of love. Fear is so different than love. Fear, they're almost the complete opposites. Because when we fear, we take care of ourselves. When we love, we're looking out for somebody else. In the midst of everything going on, in the midst of all of these concerns and these worries, God says, I didn't give you a spirit of fear. He said, I give you a spirit of power, and I give you a spirit of love. But He gives us a third thing. He also says that He gives us a spirit of a sound mind. That we can think and we can process clearly, that we don't need to be driven by our fears. See, fear is exactly the opposite of sound thinking. Sound is the idea of healthy thinking. Well, because fear is we play out every scenario that could possibly occur, and we're left paralyzed. Sound or clear or healthy thinking looks at the options. Now, are there some bad things going on in our world today? Absolutely. Is it the worst it's ever been? No. Now, is it perhaps worse than we've seen in our lifetime? Maybe. But it's not the worst it's ever been. God has given you the ability to not live in fear. I want you to take that. I want you to take God's gift and say, God, I'm done living in fear. I'm done living in fear of politicians. I'm done living in fear of a disease. I'm done living in fear of a dollar. I want to live in the Spirit of God, which gives you power, love, and sound or healthy thinking. I love you.